We've all heard the expression that the person has an attitude, and that generally means that he has a negative outlook or demeanor. However, attitudes here are referred to as something different. They are the feelings and opinions that we have about people, places, and objects, and I want to add as well as actions. So, for example, you might think that the weather in South Dakota is cold, and that's an attitude. And that's a what we call a cognitive attitude. Or you might not like hunting, and that's also an attitude because you have an attitude towards a behavior. The former is an attitude towards the weather in South Dakota, while the second is an attitude towards the act of hunting. So attitudes could also be either effective, cognitive, or behavioral. This is also referred to as feel, think, do. So you might go to an interview and think that the job offers good compensation, and that is a cognitive attitude. And you might also, let's say, I'm sorry, uh, you might also have a good feeling about joining that job, and that is affect. And you might want to join, and that is behavior. And remember, here we're referring to intentions to do a specific behavior and not performing the actual behavior. So I intend to join the job. I want to join the job. I want to, let's say, get accepted at a specific college. I want to join this specific college. All of these refer to intention. Unlike values, attitudes can change over time, albeit slowly, but they're more likely to change than values. Values fall, lower or not or lower. They're more consistent, and they tend not to change overnight because they are things that we deem important in our lives. One thing that we is important to talk about when we talk about attitudes is that we seek to ensure that there's consistency among our feelings and opinions. And if that doesn't happen, we experience what is called cognitive dissonance. And there are certain strategies that we use to restore that consistency. For example, a person might like living in a big city because of the many restaurants that it offers. But let's say they got a job in a rural area that they like and want to accept. These two attitudes are inconsistent because you like big cities, but the job is in a rural area. So you can either change your attitude by convincing yourself that you don't like big cities because many restaurants would lead you to spend more money. So that's the first strategy. So you have to change the attitude towards one of them. In this case, you're changing your attitudes towards big cities. Or you can reduce or belittle the importance of having many restaurants by convincing yourself, well, it's not that important. I don't really eat outside every day. Or finally, you can add new beliefs to make the rural area seem more attractive, like there is no traffic. But it is always important to consider that we always try to reduce the level of cognitive dissonance that arises from having, conflicting attitudes. Okay, so our personal attitudes all affect our behavior through intention. So if you look at this is what is called the theory of planned behavior, and it has been used widely in OB and even in consumer behavior and a variety of different disciplines to explain why people perform a specific behavior. Okay, so that theory says that your attitude towards performing a specific behavior, as well as the subjective norms, as the expectations of the people around you, they could be the close ones, it could be society in general, as well as a perceived behavior control, the extent to which you feel that you can control the situation. All of those affect your intention to perform that specific behavior. So, for example, an employee might intend to give a bribe, and that's an intention. Despite a negative attitude towards bribes. So he has a negative attitude towards the bribes, but they also have a people around them might expect them to give the bribe. So there is a subjective norm that, hey, you should give that bribe because you are under pressure to perform well. So, and that's especially if the corporate environment is corrupt. And you also might feel that you really can't control the sale unless you give at that bribe. So you have a perceived, low level of perceived behavior control, and therefore that influences to perform that intention. So realizing it's not performing or intending to perform a behavior is not always dependent on only your attitude, but it's on maybe the pressure that you feel from outside, subjective norms on the extent to which you feel you can control that behavior. Okay. So let's test our knowledge here. Jose is considering volunteering to help his company with the annual food drive. Which of the following is not an indicator of whether he will do so? Jose thinks the bank is a great way to help his community. Jose is already volunteering at the animal shelter. Jose's boss expects him to volunteer. Jose's company gives employees a day off to volunteer. And the food bank is located close to Jose's company. Well, if you say it is Jose is already volunteering at the animal shelter, then you're correct. Because remember, the factors that precede intention have to, affect your intention to perform the act. So if you're already performing it, then, that's the action itself. Okay, so if you think A, then that's an attitude. For example, Jose's company gives them a day off, or his boss expects him to volunteer. These are part of the subjective norms. And the food bank is located close to Jose's home. This might enhance your extent of perceived behavior control. You might feel that you have more control over the behavior of volunteering, so you're more likely to be. So the answer in this case is B.